contact. Here's Busch to the outside to take the top spot. Kyle Busch is going to win at the Auto Club Speedway.
A year ago, it was all celebrations for Kyle Busch in Fontana, and he's looking to put his 29th place Bristol finish behind him as we all look forward to Auto Club Speedway this weekend. Hello and welcome to NASCAR America. That's Bobby Labonte. This is Kyle Petty. I'm Rick Allen with you once again. Now, Marty Snyder went from Hendrick Motorsports yesterday to Marty, where are you today?
Well, Rick, today we're in Concord, North Carolina at Roush Fenway Racing. And if you go back to the last intermediate track, it wasn't quite the results that Roush Fenway wanted at Las Vegas. But can they translate Carl Edwards' big win at Bristol into some momentum this weekend at Fontana? Coming up in a minute, we'll talk to this guy, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., fresh off that big second-place finish at Bristol, and see what he expects this weekend in California.
All right, as we look forward to Fontana, it reminds us of one of the biggest stories of 2013, and that was the on-track and off-track feud between Joey Logano and Denny Hamlin. The two tweeted unpleasantries back and forth after Daytona, and then the feud hit the track in Bristol when Denny spun Joey as they were fighting for the lead with Jeff Gordon. Well, after the race, Logano confronted Hamlin, and the fuse was lit. 1 week later, the two meet on the track at Auto Club Speedway, and on the final lap are fighting for the lead. The contact sends Hamlin across the racetrack and into the inside wall. The result of that was a compression fracture of his spine, sidelining Denny for the next 4 races. Last weekend, Denny revisited this subject.
We're okay. Still, we don't talk or anything like that, more than we should, or really no less than we should, I would say. But, you can hold grudges all you want, but it's not going to make you any faster, and it's not going to get you any closer to a championship.
Logano also chimed in on the subject. You're supposed to forgive and forget, and that goes both ways. So we both knew what we had to do, and I feel like we've moved on, and we're going from there. The two are actually next to each other in Bristol on Sunday. They exchanged a few words and obviously smiles between the two. So I'll pose the question to you. Is the feud over, or is the feud continuous forever?
I don't think that feud's going to continue forever. I think those guys are probably made up a little bit. They're not going to be best of friends, but I don't think they're going to use their race cars on the racetrack to try to beat each other out of a position so much to take each other out, maybe. I got to believe that was a year ago. It's kind of over, but, they're not going to be the best of friends.
It's a feud, though. This isn't a rivalry.
Yeah.
This is a feud.
This is a feud that can turn into a rivalry.
Sure.
I mean, honestly, both these guys can race for the next 10, 12, 15 years or more. And if they continue to run competitive and have an opportunity to race week in and week out, 4 wins and 4 championships against each other, there's already that little bit of rub right there. And it only will get worse the more they have to race with each other. So they're never going to invite each other over to dinner. It could turn into a rivalry, but right now it's just a feud.
Invite them over for dinner. Well, Joey wasn't invited over for dinner after the Fontana race a year ago. He wasn't making friends that day in Fontana. Actually, after a late restart issue between Joey and Tony Stewart, post-race on pit road, the scuffle gets a little heated. And I think Joey was trying to cool off Tony with his water bottle. Let's see if that's exactly what happened here, because I'm pretty sure the left arm there throws the water bottle. Pretty intense here, and it looked as though frustration was really taking over Tony here.
It really was. Tony didn't start off with a great season last year there, and I think he was frustrated. That last restart, Joey blocked him a little bit, but hey, man, it was free-for-all there at the end. Tony got a little upset. What they did right there, man, that's okay. I like that. I mean, if you're going to argue like that, let's do it outside your race car. Let's have a little argument there, push and shove, a little something like that. They got the point across, and they all went away.
Now, that's not really a feud, but I would put Tony Stewart in a class of probably one of the toughest guys out there. And I'm saying that because of what he's gone through this year with his leg injury and being able to even battle at Bristol this last week.
Yeah, and you were his teammate.
Yeah, for 10 years at Joe Gibbs Racing. That guy is so tough. I mean, he's been through a lot. That wreck he had last year at a sprint car track in Canada or wherever it was, that right there took him out for the rest of the year. But he's coming back. He come back this year. He is going to be tough before it's over with. That guy is mentally tough. He can overcome a lot of things when he sits in that race car.
Yeah, and we saw him working him down the bank, walking him down the bank. Eddie Jarvis and Denny Hamlin. Physically, he's not in the best shape right now. I mean, he's said, my leg is 65%. But between his ears, he is a throwback to the old school race car drivers, the guys that got in and drove with broke arms, with broke legs, with broke ribs, and just focused on winning races. Tony is focused on bringing Stewart-Haas Racing back to the front. I think Kevin's shown that that team can come back under Tony's leadership. I think Tony will be the next guy in line to win races.
You are really good. You mentioned old school. That's a perfect transition to probably one of the most famous feuds ever, and that was the 1979 Daytona 500. Cale Yarborough, Donnie Allison on the backstretch on the last lap.
It's all come down to this. Out of turn 2, Donnie Allison in first. Where will Cale make his move? He comes to the inside. Donnie Allison throws the line. Cale hits him. He slides. Donnie Allison slides. They hit again. They drive into the turn. They're hitting the wall. They're head on the wall. They slide down to the inside. They're out of it. At the line, and he wins it. And there's a fight. The tempers overflowing.
Safety officials trying to jump in there and separate them as tempers have really flared.
They're angry. They know they have lost. And what a bitter defeat.
All right, Bobby, they're out of their cars. They're fighting. Probably no Christmas cards being handed back and forth between those two guys?
Probably not even today, but what a great fight that was. I mean, that was, you look back on that however many years ago. We're still showing that, and you still look at that, and you think that was exciting.
Yeah, where were you?
Where was I? I was headed to Victory Lane with the King because he won the race. I know where I was. What was so cool about that, we see Joey Logano and Tony throwing water bottles. These guys are hanging on the helmets, swinging them at each other. This was a real fight. This was cool stuff.
Didn't Bobby Allison say something about...
Bobby said that Cale kept hitting his fist with Cale's face. And he didn't understand how that worked until he got home and saw it on film, but it's like Cale's face just kept pounding.
One of the best rivalries, or fights, obviously, in all of NASCAR. Coming up, we'll check in with Marty Snyder, who stopped by the Roush Fenway Racing Shop to pay a visit to Ricky Stenhouse. And we'll hear from nationwide points leader Regan Smith. NASCAR America continues after this.
Ricky will fight him off to the moment. Stenhouse running kind of an unorthodox line. Need to give us a break.
Ricky he was being aggressive out there all night, and I knew what was coming, so that was going to be a battle.
After a career best finish at Bristol, Ricky Stenhouse is riding the momentum all the way to California. But before he heads cross country, our Marty Snyder caught up with him at Roush Fenway Racing.
Well, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., cowboy hat and all, happy to be here after the big second-place finish at Bristol. You look where you guys finished. Carl wins the race, 2 other Fords in the top 5. How is the confidence level right now for the Ford camp overall, but especially here at Roush Fenway?
You know, we go week by week here. You know, it was a great week at Bristol for us. We were really happy with how we ended Bristol. You know, but it's you got to be good every week here in this series. This series is tough, and the racetracks are so different. But everybody at Roush Fenway has been working really, really hard. We worked on a baseline setup and unloaded and was very fast at Bristol.
Caution comes out, handful of laps to go. There's got to be a piece of you, even though obviously the rain came and it was an inadvertent caution, that was thinking, here's my shot. I cannot wait to go back to a green, white, checkered. Were you thinking, I can get the 99?
I thought we could get him. I thought our cars were really, really equal. I saw Eric Almirola have a really good shot at Carl, you know, running the bottom there, and kind of used his tires up, and I was able to get by Eric, and you know, I was going to give it a good shot. I thought, you know, I thought that we had a car that could run the bottom very well, and Carl seemed to struggle a little bit for the first, you know, 1 or 2 laps on restart, but you know, it was good to get him in the chase. It's my first Sprint Cup 1-2 finish at Roush Fenway, and I know Jack's done this a lot and had 1-2 finishes, so hopefully we can do that a few more times this year.
Let's talk about the expectations this weekend at Fontana. I spent some time with Mike and Robbie yesterday, and they both told me Vegas wasn't that good. You guys really struggled there as a company. Why will it be better this time around?
We struggled at Vegas. We unloaded way off, and we got our cars better. And I think we learned a lot from that weekend that we're going to apply to California. Hopefully, start a little bit closer, fine-tune it through the weekend. And it's been a good track for Roush Fenway in the past, but it's also been a good track for Mike Kelly and I in the past.
I got to ask you about the hat. We have got to get Kyle Petty a hat like that. What kind of hat should we get Kyle?
Mine are Saratelli hats. You know, I'm not sure what the King wears, but I don't know. I guess you're going to have to get him
a nice,
slot.
Pretty one.
Yeah, you got to get him something that holds his ponytail in the back.
That's
maybe.
a good point. I didn't think about
I don't know how that works, but yeah, he needs one.
All right, very good. We will work on Rick getting Kyle Petty a hat just like this one, but I'm not sure he'll look as cool as Ricky does, though.
I'm still trying to figure out, do people think that you don't have clothes?
Decals, T-shirts, hats, man, I'm getting it all. I will put that hat right alongside one of the King's hats. That's cool.
You would definitely look good with it. Well, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. has been racing most of his life. He started his career at age 6 before winning back-to-back Nationwide Series championships. Stenhouse drove for Tony Stewart, racing sprints and midgets. Last year, Stenhouse took home Rookie of the Year honors in the Sprint Cup Series. Now, the Nationwide Series has been companion to the Cup Series for the first 4 races of the season, and the points battle is as close as it can be. Regan Smith leads Trevor Bayne by a single point entering this week's festivities in Fontana. Ty Dillon and Chase Elliott are not far behind. Let's welcome in the points leader. Joining us on the phone is Regan Smith. Regan, once again, you find yourself with the points lead to start the season, especially after that huge win at Daytona. Are you still riding that emotion?
Well, we rode it for a week or two, and that was about it. Then, you know, it gets into the swing of the rest of the regular season. Certainly, you know, having the points lead this early is a good thing, and that win gave us the luxury of being able to you know, go through the first probably 4 races here and you know, get to know each other as a team. We got a lot of new people, a new crew chief for me, and you know, that's a luxury we might not have had we not been able to win that first race. But that's been good so far, and you know, if anybody knows that it's early, I definitely do after last year.
Well, yeah. Did you learn anything last year that can help your chances of capturing the title at season's end this year?
Well, I think I did, Rick. It was, you know, a situation where we got that huge points lead last year, and we're almost looking too far forward instead of just living in the now and understanding that we had to keep racing the way that we had raced to get that points lead. And, you know, I think when I look at the season last year and I see how it all shook up and what happened as the year progressed on, you know, we didn't really take ourselves out of that championship hunt until probably almost Charlotte time, maybe just a little before Charlotte. Dover was the one race I look at that really was kind of, as a team, the one that kind of deflated us just a little bit. Having a good run there and not having the fuel to get to the end of the race. So it's, you know, I think the main thing I learned from that last year was that it's a long season, and just keep yourself in the hunt until you get to that point where you're down to the stretch run. And if you do those things, then you'll have the opportunity to. We didn't even have the opportunity going into Homestead to win it, and that was, you know, that was disappointing.
Hey, Regan, I want to ask you, a lot of people have been discussing this topic about Cup drivers running in the Nationwide Series. What's your opinion on that? Do you appreciate when the Cup drivers race against you in the Nationwide Series?
Well, I do appreciate it. You know, I think it's the best way to learn. I know, you know, when I was even younger, first getting into the Nationwide Series years ago, I liked having them out there. I felt like that was the best way to judge where you were at, what you were learning, what you needed to learn. You know, as you progress along. I think the other thing that we have to remember is by these Cup drivers, and we see this with our team at Junior Motorsports and with our organization, by the Cup drivers being involved, it also helps bring in corporate sponsors and partners to work with the Nationwide teams, and that's a big factor that we got to keep in mind as we're, you know, talking about ways to maybe improve or change things or do things differently, is that, you know, for example, us, you know, Dale plays a big part in our company having some of the partners that we have, and without him, I don't know if we would. So we got to keep that in mind, and keep in mind that they're helping the younger guys get opportunities because of their involvement with the series.
Regan, thanks for joining us. Good luck this weekend in California.
Hey, I'm looking forward to it, guys. Thanks.
All right, so I think the big question has to be to you, Bobby. You've won a Nationwide championship. You went on and won a Cup championship. Then you went and raced in the Nationwide Series against the Nationwide regulars as a Cup regular. Do you think that's fair?
Well, I think that it's been an argument for a long time, but when I was racing the Nationwide Series before the Cup Series, I wanted to race against those guys because it taught me a lot. I learned a lot more racing against them. I just felt like if you can race against those guys and try to beat them, and beat them, that just made me feel better, and I felt like it just prepared me more for the Cup Series.
Are you on an equal playing field? I mean, do you have the same equipment?
Well, at times you do. You know, when I started out, I mean, Dale Jarrett, Dale Earnhardt, you know, Harry Gant, those guys, Mark Martin drove for Jack Roush, but most everybody had pretty equal equipment. You know, nowadays guys have equal equipment in the top 15 or so.
Sure.
And, but, you know, like Kyle Larson, he comes in, he's got great equipment, but yet it's teaching him so much for the Cup Series. You just can't replace that with anything else. And when you race against a Cup guy, I've raced against him in the Nationwide Series before, and it's like, man, if you can beat him, I mean, it just gives you so much confidence.
As a fan, do you think you watch the race the same way, thinking, okay, that guy's a Cup driver, he should win the race against the Nationwide driver?
I think smart fans do, yes. I really do. I think they look and they see Kyle Busch, they see Joey Logano, they see these guys out there, and then they see a Kyle Larson come along for the first time, and they say, my God, this kid's running 5th or 6th against Cup guys. They look at it a little bit different. This model has changed so much. Bobby won the championship in 1991, the Busch championship. To the time my son came along, Adam, to the time it is today, the business model changed. NASCAR has done a great job at keeping the business alive. I remember when these guys, he and Jeff Burton and Ward Burton, all came out of the Nationwide into the Cup Series, and it's like, oh my God, it's the assault of the young guys. You know what I mean? And we see that, and that's why the Nationwide Series is so important. But I believe that's why the Nationwide guys need to run against Cup guys to learn.
Yeah, pretty impressive. Yeah. Coming up, these two guys will break down the keys to the Fontana track, including one very important element.
As a race car driver, restarts are such a critical part of your success that if you're not a good restarter, you won't win races or be a contender for a championship.
Four wheels.
It's really electric right now. Everybody on their feet, waiting for the American ethanol green flag.
Oh, here we go. Going green, green. Still there. On your door. Watch your bottom. Watch your bottom. You're clear on him. You're clear.
Restarts are very chaotic. There's so many things that are going on.
Restarts now are just insane.
Restarts are such a critical part of your success that if you're not a good restarter, you won't win races or be a contender for a championship.
You have to be aggressive, and you have to go after every position that you can get.
When you're up front, you know, first 4, there's a lot of games being played. There's a lot of gamemanship going on.
If you're anywhere from that second row on back, the air gets worse and worse. You can make big gains or lose a lot in the first 2 laps, and then it could take you the whole rest of the run to gain those back.
Am I the biggest fan of the 2x2 restarts? Not really. At the end of the day, you know, we're not out there to make the drivers feel better. We're out there to make a better race.
It's just free-for-all, essentially.
So restarts are definitely a focal point all across the country. I want to head out west and focus on Auto Club Speedway. 3 keys: restarts, the seams, and the apron. Break it down for us, guys.
Insane, critical, aggressive. We heard those drivers use all those words to describe restarts. You can't get out of line, NASCAR rule, on a restart until you pass the start-finish line. Then we see at Auto Club, they spread out 5, 6, 7 wide. You've got to make something happen on a restart. You've got to get a position. You've got to gain as much as possible. We see Tony Stewart here. He makes a move on Joey Logano. Joey throws the block on him. Joey needs that position this late in the race to go on and try to contend for the win. When the race is over with, they have a few words. Joey doesn't like his water bottle. He throws it at Tony to see if Tony likes it. Tony doesn't like it either, and the rest is history in this scene.
All right, let's talk a little bit about the seams of this racetrack.
Yeah, Auto Club Speedway was the first race since 1997. Had a lot of grip. Well, over the years, the track has deteriorated grip level-wise, and there's some cracks that come about, so they put in some seams, some tar, to keep the track from separating too much, and it's created like the 5 lanes of racetrack. So you'll see a lot of guys go out there, and I struggle with this a lot out there, is you don't want to cross over those seams. You can do it a little bit, but the track gets, on a really hot day, the tar gets really slippery, and you're already lack of grip, and you see here Kevin Harvick's fixing to get in some more of that tar, and he gets loose, and I mean, it just takes your car out of the racetrack, and you're loose, and you're pushing, and all kinds of stuff, so it's really a handful, as you see what these guys are doing all day.
So you got your hands full in 5 lanes, so why don't you just add a 6th lane?
You know, I don't know who was the first one that did this. I wish it would have been me, but I'm sure it wasn't. But, you know, what happens in 3 and 4, the banking of the racetrack, the apron's got some banking to it. A lot of guys will use that part of the racetrack to help their car turn. You know, your car is a little bit tight throughout the racetrack, throughout the 3 and 4, and you don't want to be up in the seams, so a lot of guys just use the apron, and you see that a lot. Hey, you know, like you see here, Jeff Gordon, he's got his whole car underneath the white line. A lot of guys put the left side tires on it. A lot of guys use the whole racetrack. So, I mean, you got 5 lanes plus 6 in 3 and 4.
So as Kyle mentioned, on restarts, they're going to go 6 or 7 wide, and the track enables them to do that as well. Well, as always here on NASCAR America, we celebrate tracks around the United States in our heart of racing. Lanier National Speedway in Brazelton, Georgia, once hosted the Nationwide Series. Charlotte Motor Speedway hosts the Stars of Tomorrow, who compete on the quarter-mile oval on the front stretch. The same could be said for Atlanta Motor Speedway, that plays host to Legends and Bandoleros on Thursday nights. Round 2 of the Formula One World Championship stops at the Petronas Malaysia Grand Prix, Sunday, March 30th at 3:30 a.m. Eastern, right here on NBC-SN. This day in NASCAR, 1967, David Pearson gets his first of 5 Cup victories at Bristol Motor Speedway. In 1989, Darrell Waltrip is victorious at Atlanta to reach the 75-win mark in his Cup career. And in 2000, Ward Burton wins at Darlington, ending a 5-year winless streak. So it's been I guess, a pretty good day for us. You got a cowboy hat.
Yes.
Yesterday, actually, Dale Earnhardt Jr. with Marty Snyder told us that they were going to send us T-shirts and stickers. Take a look.
By the way, I think we should send a T-shirt to Rick and to Bobby and Kyle. They're all in the studio this week. Don't you agree?
Yeah, if they want a T-shirt, we'll send them a T-shirt. We'll actually get them a sticker. I know.
Wow, we are nice, aren't we?
Kyle probably likes stickers, so we'll send him a couple of those.
He's probably got a few stickers. All right, T-shirt stickers on the way, guys.
And, of course, the magic of delivery. They did it overnight. Kelly, I believe those shirts came in.
Yes, they are in.
How about
thank
this?
you so much.
Thank you.
We do now have our Daytona 500 champion T-shirt. So you've got a hat, you've got a T-shirt now. Eric Almirola and Marcus Ambrose are on the show. Can they get you a pants sponsor?
They've got ham, but no, they can't. I don't know. They may have a pants sponsor.
How big would it be for Richard Petty Motorsports to get back to victory lane?
I think it would be huge. Those guys have been through so many iterations of what Richard Petty Motorsports is. I think Marcus Ambrose is doing a great job, but I think Eric's on a roll right now. He's coming into his own with Todd Parrott, or with that group, and I think they're going to be good.
Yeah, I think that they were really strong towards some races last year, and they after this weekend, they're going to be pretty good, I believe.
All right, you guys are sticking around tomorrow. We'll get predictions for your California
predictions,
race?
Yes. That's big.
Looking forward to it. All right. And, of course, we've got Eric Almirola and Marcus Ambrose that are going to be joining us here on the show. From the entire NASCAR America family here on NBC-SN, thanks for joining us, and enjoy your evening. Pro Football Talk is next, followed by our NHL Wednesday night rivalry matchup between the Blues and the Blackhawks.